Good morning, everyone. Today we're checking out a video from Lockstar and Noggin of creating new Ultra Beast starter Pokemon. Let's hop in and check it out.
So Poipole is a starter Ultra Beast in the world of Ultra Megalopolis, and it breaks
Yep,
many
Poison
starter
Dragon.
Pokemon conventions. Like it only evolves once and
There we
into
go.
a poison dragon type at that. No grass, water, or fire to be found. And it seemingly doesn't have any other starter options alongside it. But you know, it's an alien. All of the Ultra Beasts are, as we showed in our videos delving into their lore and design origins. And in being alien, they don't have to follow the same starter Pokemon
Yeah,
traditions
exactly.
as here in Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon's version of Earth. But what if they did? I occasionally see this question answered beautifully by many talented Pokemon fan artists. And you know, I think it's time we flesh out some of my ideas. So I commissioned
Ooh.
two awesome artists to design 4 Ultra Beasts each to work alongside me with 2 different ideas of what a full Ultra Beast starter trio could look like. And in being so alien, we'll have to consider alien and sci-fi tropes for these designs, as well as
All right.
invasive species, as all of the Ultra Beasts are based primarily on them. Also, I like the idea that the balancing of the trio is there, but not in a way we've seen starter Pokemon balanced before. So, we're going to have one set of Ultra Beast starters
Okay.
have their types balanced by not interacting at all, whatsoever. No resistances or super effectivenesses against each other as far
Ooh.
as their types are concerned. However, what makes Poipole
Regular
and
damage.
Meganodel extra special is their super glue shooting ability. So for this trio, we'll have their unique powers and abilities all be super effective on each other in a triangle. I'd imagine it'd be difficult to get across in a game setting, but in a more visual action setting like the anime, it'd be perfect. Let's give this trio to the artist Geodude 1580. The other trio is going to be
Alright.
kind of the opposite. For the basic stages, they'll be your typical super effective triangle, so since Poipole is poison, we'll do grass and ground for the other two. But when evolved, Meganodel is poison dragon type. How do
Now
we
you gotta
make a
go
trio of
against that.
Pokemon balanced around that fact? Well, simple. Make all of them dragon type, since dragon is
course.
super effective against dragon. You could say that because
No
of the
variant
special
steel.
circumstances of Ultra Megalopolis and the duties of the Ultra Recon Squad, they found that dragon types are particularly fitting for their work and way of life. Plus, Space Dragon is like a whole cool trope. Let's give
Space
this trio
Dragon.
to Virgalophus. And now we review.
liking
First
this.
up, the grass-to-grass dragon starter. This is UB Growth. Koozied. It's just a little
Aw.
plant baby.
It looks like it's got a Mew inside.
Think of the large and leathery
know,
alien eggs seen in all sorts of sci-fi horror media. That's Koozied at its core. The eggy seed pod itself is protected by a free-rotating, thorny, vine-like tumbleweed to help it roll around while keeping itself upright, like those gyro ball toys. And inside
Ooh,
the semi-transparent
trippy.
membrane of the egg, you can see Koozied's main body and glowing facial features. Something mysterious is growing. And plus, a starter Pokemon you can't properly see the face of is unheard of. Mildly spooky, very alien. But don't you worry, it's not like you'll never get to see your starter's cute little face. They can pop their heads out
Aw.
of the seed egg, just not for too long, as they follow another alien trope. Aliens that are unable to breathe the same atmosphere that species on our planet can. These types of alien species typically have to wear specialized spacesuits if they ever want to visit a human ship, let alone our home world. So what are the invasive species showcased here? Well, tumbleweeds, first of all. Their seed dispersal method means they can invade anywhere the wind happens to blow. You'd think they were native to America
Wherever the wind takes them.
since they are iconically in Wild West movies, but no, they're from Russian plains originally. But
Wait,
more importantly
what?
is the other
The tumbleweed is Russian?
invasive plant inspiration, kudzu, also known as Japanese or Chinese arrowroot. It's an invasive vine-like plant that spreads rapidly.
You know, I think I've actually
And it's
thought
pretty
of this.
prevalent in the mon's name. Koozied, an egg-like seed in a tumbleweed, kuzu, kuzi. Kuzu being Japanese for kudzu. Plus it just sounds cute, and like a little cartoon alien. Greetings, human, I am Zeed. You know? But now look at these villages.
Ooh, there we
This
go.
is what happens when a kudzu outbreak goes uncontrolled. It's everywhere. And seeing this made me immediately think
Damn.
of dragons flying over and burning down entire villages at once. Only
And nature
replace
reclaiming.
the spreading fire with rapidly growing seeds. That's what Kuzid spits out a little bit of, but when it evolves, those villages on its homeworld better pray they have a lot of herbivores. This is the grass dragon type UB Propagate. Gavine.
Nice.
Like many prideful dragons and deities, they see themselves as divine, and making one your partner Pokemon is more difficult than most starters. Imagine Ash's
Oh, yeah?
Charizard as the default. And its name also
Oh,
pulls
damn.
from vine and the Chinese name for kudzu this time. Ge. Like the swaths of land it buries in kudzu breath, Gavine is pretty large when you include the long tail. While Naganadel is big and huggable to a kid like Ash,
Aw.
Gavine could give Ash and Naganadel a ride on its back. It's extremely
Oh,
light
wow.
for its size
Big.
too. Like the bladders that keep kelp afloat in the ocean, Gavine's pup orbs, vine tail, leaves, and most of its body has hollowed out sections throughout it filled with helium, which is what it primarily breathes, hence the need for the spacesuit-like plant pod over its face still,
Ooh.
breathing only what it synthesizes. This lightweight for its size allows it to float in most dimensions, bringing to mind the flying or wingless more mammalian dragons like Falcor from Neverending Story, or
Nice.
like how the Kitsune and magic foxes are sometimes depicted floating and dashing about in the air. Surprisingly, none of the Ultra Beasts are even vaguely mammalian, so here's one. It
Oh,
jumps and
yeah.
dashes through the air
No, he's actually right. None of them are really, well, mammalian.
above the villages.
All like
it raises with
insects
its
or
seeds,
bugs.
which it both breathes out like a
That's the
dragon
same thing,
and
fox.
whips out of its tail. These large seed pods can either explode into buckets of kudzu seeds, or if it so chooses, it can lay them down as alien eggs among the town ruins, buried in a protective layer of vines, spreading the way many plants create pups to spread their genes. It's a hefty
Nice.
price to pay for the residents of the town it attacks, but it's all worth it for its divine offspring. Quite the classical dragon personality. Now, let's take a gander over at the other UB starter triangle. It turns out making a trio of Pokemon whose types don't interact at all is a lot more difficult than you'd think, especially
Oh,
when you're
bet.
already forced to have one of them be poison dragon type. We do not have a lot of options here, but a ghost dark type is an option. In fact,
Oh,
before
perfect.
fairy type was introduced, it was
Perfect.
the only type combo with 0 weaknesses. And you know what the ghost type Pokemon group as a whole are really missing? Really green guys. Like, most of them are gray or purple, which Naganadel
Or
already
brown.
is, and we gotta make sure there's contrast between the starter colors in the trios, right? So how about a green alien ghost, like a bright yellow green? That's a color often associated with ghosts and aliens in more family-friendly media involving them. Just think
True,
of ghost
true.
slime ectoplasm
Ah.
and green
See, slugged
alien
me.
skin and all that. Actually, remember the like green glowing slushies from the original Toy Story coming out of the Totally Not a Xenomorph dispenser? I always wanted to drink that. It's probably terrible for you. This
Well, most
is
like
the
what?
ghost
The
type
cactus?
UBA
Oh, is that a hand?
ailment. Foamite, the smallest starter at only 10 inches tall, slightly shorter than Froakie. So think back to War of the Worlds, one of the first and most iconic bits of sci-fi pop culture media. How does
Classic.
it end? Oh yeah, the Martians and their tripod ships all died because of our bacteria. How lovely.
Bacteria.
So here's a little bacteriophage with a virus head looking green ghost alien on a tripod of fingers? Well, yes. You see, in the medical world, fomites, spelled this way, are any inanimate object that is likely to carry and spread infection from person to person. Think like the
Okay.
serving utensils at a buffet, doorknobs everywhere, handles, railing, flush buttons, pens.
Flush
Basically,
buttons.
anything commonly touched by a lot of dirty hands is a fomite. But wouldn't a
Literally
bacteria or
anything,
virus-looking Pokemon be poison type? Well, is Dewpider. But also, that's where the foe in its name comes from. It looks like gross germs,
Oh, this foe means fake.
and the slime it spits up is toxin-like, but it's not, technically. It's faux poison. Fomite's gross, poison-looking slime is entirely ectoplasm that infects and eats its way not at your body's physical health like any toxin would,
But the spiritual.
rather eats away at your very soul. It harkens
that's
back to a lot
sick.
of older ideas
love
about
it.
sickness. Ah, tuberculosis, and even germs haven't been discovered yet. Clearly you have ghosts in your blood. blood. Look to the priest and leeches. Plus, sometimes sci-fi media delves into souls and ghost stuff.
I hate
like
and love
Metroid
that.
and that old Final Fantasy movie. And a lot of eldritch
Oh, the
horror
Final
ghosts
Fantasy
are
movie?
really just extra-dimensional aliens partially projecting themselves into our dimension, functioning as ghosts, but they're not. So there's plenty of reasons for this, and I doubt I have to remind you that bacteria and viruses are like the most invasive species of all, right? Technically invasive pathogens, but still invading our bodies
they
every
invade.
day. But Fomite is just a curious little bugger. It's able to contain most of its slime in its head, but sometimes when it smiles, it dribbles from the bottom of its lips. Its mouth opens like it has 3 lips. This is weird. It's not very good at
It's a
drinking.
split lip.
Don't accidentally ingest it like me. Now I've got a raging fever of 103.
And whenever I get sick, via the soul or otherwise,
I always think of sponsors. Don't ask me why.
having a job is pretty swell, but the ones that pay well are often difficult to get the training for, or worse,
Boring.
but boot.dev has created.
Ugh. Hey, you made me sick. Can you cure me too?
But of course, it then evolves, and it leaves ecto slime everywhere. This is UB miasma, latophase, from macrophage.
Okay, now it looks like both a hand and a nerve cell in the brain.
Phase, as it ghostily phases through matter, and lat, which is Burmese for hand. Notice the dirty hands and fingers throughout its design, and then its actual arms and hands are just goop.
Mucus.
Love that. You got hands everywhere, except where it counts. But why Burmese? Well, I wanted to use the word hand, but in a language that is primarily spoken in an area filled with jungle. So in this case, Southeast Asia. Jungles are notorious for their widespread diseases and goopy marshes, you see. Southeast Asia also is home to loads of terrifying folktale ghosts like yokai,
Oh,
but
yeah.
much more terrifying and disease-spreading specifically.
Truly
Plus, it's written
terrible.
like this, and you could see that word is like a bacterium. Love that. Plus, from a Western perspective, Lato sounds like another cartoony alien name. Beware, human! I am Lato, and I will fire my phaser at you! Even
Oh,
its
that's
little
so
hover feet
cute.
are like cartoony UFO hoverboard tech and alien antennae. Oh yeah, and it's ghost dark type now. Dark types also need some more bright color in the mix. Latophase plays ghostly tricks just to be mean, detaching parts of souls to give spooky out-of-body experiences, or to make you feel sick
Does
for
it
no
buff?
discernible physiological reason. A mystery illness, an illness of the spirit. And when it's not
Bum,
playing
bum.
tricks, it's consuming, and it's cruel in its hunting methods. The finger-like appendages up top are like eye stalks for its twisted fingerprint eyes, and when it catches its prey, it will use those to grab hold of its victim's head like a head crab.
Oh,
and
no, that's
slowly
terrible.
open its mouth to drool its slimy ectoplasm and slowly dissolve the soul of its prey and consume it. In the wild, these ultra beasts were dangerous, spreading everywhere, expanding exponentially across their planet. And in areas where the planet's own spirit or aura is richer, they spread even faster. And
Oh,
they were
darn.
totally indifferent to the suffering they were causing, like viruses themselves. Totally indifferent to the damage their very reproduction
It's straight up just like the bacteria song from that Amazing World of Gumball episode.
causes. And they are neither alive nor dead. But thankfully, upon recruitment by the Ultra Recon Squad, they have learned to use their powers for good and healing. Their slime can be used for all sorts of soul ointment to help heal those with spiritual injuries. Now,
Not
I think
bad.
we've seen enough green for today, or all week. Let's look back at the Dragon Triangle and see what we've got for the ground type starter. This
Alright.
is UB Boar. Minerm. You know, most people are unaware, but earthworms are actually invasive in many areas. They are
Wait,
beneficial
really?
to crops, so farmers imported them like everywhere. They're very helpful little guys, but fishermen often use them as bait to catch fish in nice forested rivers. And some worms escape the hooks, and some fishermen just dump their leftover earthworms at the end of the day. Earthworms are destroying hardwood forests all over
Oh,
the world,
shit.
as they should not be there.
Damn.
Plus, alien worms, or even just
Hey, that's a
worm-like
Zog.
beings, is another alien trope that the UBs haven't explored yet. Which, of course, knowing that this is going to become a big ground dragon type, you just know it's going to turn into that giant space worm like the Exogorth from Star Wars, or the iconic Dune worms, you know? What's
Oh,
sticking
damn.
with Minor,
Yeah,
it's a
not
minor
that.
miner and a worm. They dig through the ground at rapid speeds in search of nutrients, and their bioluminescent bulbs burn brightly like many species of cave worms. Where it differs, though, is just how warm and even hot they are to the touch. Minerm can survive in really high temperatures as they prefer digging in and around volcanoes and deep into the crust where geothermal heat radiates with abundance.
Would be really good
And
friends
yet,
with
if too much dust
Heat
gets
Trend.
into its nose, it sneezes a super warm goo. That goo is actually a really useful part of its body, though. Have you seen ribbon worms? They shoot out this weird net that is actually their proboscis. It helps them to catch prey, and every now and again these worms go viral for this quote-unquote very alien ability. So perfect for an alien Pokemon. And we can evolve it with a fun fact. Did you know that the blue whale may be the largest animal to ever live by weight, but it is not the longest animal to ever live? That honor goes to
Okay.
oceanic ribbon worms. The longest on record is 180 feet. And despite that,
shit.
only half an inch wide. So clearly this evolution has to be big, though not as skinny. We want to harken back to dune worms and that whole trope, remember? So let's make it a bit Steelix-sized, a size that can help scream Dragon 2. Forget Jormungandr, the Norse world serpent.
Ooh.
This is UB Excavate. Destroiter,
Destroiter.
the out-of-this-world worm.
Now
Like
I love it.
Steelix, it
That was
bores
my
through the
start
earth
off.
at quick speeds, using its sharp subway-shaped face to pierce through even the most compacted of soils. When slowing down, it opens its mouth wide like a basking
Dude.
shark to filter feed on the minerals within. But
Incredible.
unlike Steelix, it lacks the metal armor and instead becomes ossified. Its armor is made up of dense dragon bone, often said to be magically durable, indestructible even, in some fantasy settings. The name pulls from destroy, detritus, the dirt and such that worms eat, Ot, Mongolian for worm, as the Mongolian death worm is the cryptid that started the whole giant sandworm trope, and the
Love it.
name ends with R because worm, and also because of the many serpentine dragons in Norse mythology whose names do the same, like
Yeah,
Nidhogg, and
Nidhogg.
the aforementioned Jormungandr. And yet, despite
Classic.
how stoic and intimidating it is, it's still a bit of a crybaby. Sometimes it eats too much trash or leaves and it gets a little tummy ache. Ugh,
Give
don't
him a
worry,
hug.
big guy. You'll be a tummy ache survivor. I also love its teeny tiny little arms. What? Can it even grab with those? So for this trio, I wonder how Naganadel feels being the smallest of the three. Well, regardless, we've got three dragons who follow different dragon designs. The classical space dragon but slapped on a bee, the long, limbless reptilian Wyrms on a sandworm,
Very
and
nice.
a more magical mammalian take on dragon magic. They also nicely
And good.
complement Naganadel color-wise, and all three have a capture mechanic to specifically help the Ultra Recon Squad do their job of subduing Ultra Beasts. Poipole and Naganadel, of course, shoot a super glue-like substance. Kuzid and Gavine
Stuck.
shoot rapid-growing seeds that ensnare their targets.
Trapped.
Minerm sneezes a net, and Destroiter is fast and inhales even
Hits.
heavy rocks like a vacuum from afar. Imagine Kirby, but a sandworm.
Oh,
So let's go back to the
no.
null trio that does not interact at all and see
here we
the
go.
final new
On to the
UB
next.
starters. And given the types of the two we have, there is only one option left. This is the flying type UB suit.
Really now?
Hamberry. Oh gosh, a cutie. A space monkey. Think back to the early days
Huh.
of space research. We sent chimps into space in cute little spacesuits. The very first
Yeah.
chimp was launched into space in January 1961, and that chimp's name was Ham. Hence the
Aw.
ham in Hamberry. The berry then is Hausa for monkey, Hausa being the biggest language in West Africa where chimps are native. And yes, I know, chimps are not monkeys, they are apes. Notice the lack of a tail.
Yeah, it's part of the
Pokemon
great
doesn't
ape
have to follow
family.
every real world rule. Just look at him for an ape. Huh? Hamberry sounds a bit like ham boning too, which it really likes to do. Many monkeys and apes do, and because of its strange protective exoskeleton-like dome, when it ham bones, it sounds super hollow. Kinda like drums or knocking on a fishbowl. This is how they communicate even in the
like
soundless
this
vacuum of
guy.
space where they occasionally go, like monkeys in trees to avoid predators, they do this ham boning as a sort of sign language. which some apes famously have been able to learn. And like Gavine,
Depending on this thing's evolution, this may be my choice of starter for this trio.
for they are extremely light too and float by inflating their rubbery exoskeleton. And by using some very minor psychic ability thanks to its large monkey brain and excessive gas, they manage to be quite agile while doing so, like monkeys swinging from trees, but they don't need trees. They just fly, like the iconic flying monkeys from The Wizard of Oz, but with an
Fly, my
astronaut suit
pretties.
instead of wings. But are monkeys or apes truly invasive? Well, yes, but not iconically so. Macaques and squirrel monkeys as escaped pets are known to be invasive in plenty of areas, like Florida, where families of them have started popping up, breeding, and spreading more. There is one primate species, though, that plenty of folks consider invasive. Possibly even the most damaging invasive species of all time. It's humans. We're
Oh,
native
yes,
to
of
Africa,
course.
and now we are literally everywhere. And our destruction is so rampant and widespread that many of us don't even notice it, or just straight up refuse to acknowledge it. There is, of course, some philosophical debate as to whether or not we should count, because we're humans, we're special, we're not just animals with
We're
bigger
still part of the
brains.
great ape
But for the sake
family.
of this, let's say, yeah, especially in this sort of sci-fi alien contest, like Europa very likely has microscopic life on it. So what do we call ourselves when we start colonizing Europa in like 1,000 years? We're literally alien invaders to them in our spacesuits,
Okay,
which
okay,
Hambiri's
yeah.
body very clearly is. And I love its little Y2K aesthetic face. And they can spread their arms and tail out completely and rapidly spin in the air to make a little tornado or to quickly give you a pentaslap.
Oh.
Ow. And well, then it evolves into UB gravity, quarantang, like a cool.
Hold on. There's gonna be an image that I will be putting on screen in the lower left corner. Oh, because when you see that, you're gonna look at this guy and be like, I see a connection. Alright, I'm gonna leave that up for now and continue on.
Quasar orangutan, frequently mispronounced as orangutan, and it's in a quarantine suit, which protects it not just from the ill effects of outside diseases and pollutants, but even from gravity itself. Thanks to its big brain, it has access to a few psychic moves, but uses that ability primarily to become so agile and speedy in the air, it essentially
Damn.
ignores all of the effects of gravity altogether. It
Constantly
always is
floating.
moving as if it is in a zero-G environment, and can launch itself off of seemingly nothing to fly around the battle arena, delivering all sorts of flying-type attacks. It's got 4 pupils
Okay, you know what?
inside of
Yes.
its insect-like compound eyes to give it a superior level of depth perception, making it truly a master of the sky and open air
I've
combat.
selected him.
It knows exactly how much it needs to push itself to just reach and annoy you. Like all monkeys, it's playful and mischievous, and will use its lack of needing to touch a floor or anything to sneak up on you from above and behind and just play tricks, like floating right above you and tapping your shoulder. Huh? Hello? Must have been the wind. What's going on? Now, all of the Ultra Beasts have the Beast Boost ability, so we can't give it a cure-all, quarantine-y sort of ability, but we can give it a signature move. Quarantine! It's like Safeguard, which creates a protective field that prevents status conditions for 5 turns, so things like poison, confusion, curses, attract, etc. But Quarantine takes it one step further.
Oh,
You
yeah?
can't even alter its stats for 5
Oh.
turns. Tail Whip? Don't care. Baby Doll Eyes? Nope. Electro Web? Yeah, the zaps hurt, but you ain't gonna slow him down. He is as safe as can be in that suit.
Love it.
So as a trio, gosh, they look fun. None of them have any type advantage or disadvantage over the others, but their special powers interact. Quarantang's suit keeps it extra clean and pretty much resistant to all diseases, much like the suits of the Quarians in Mass Effect. Quarians, Quarantang. I hadn't even thought about how amazing that coincidence of names is until just now.
Coincidence?
And not
I
only
think-
that, but
yes.
it's resistant to curses too. And yes, that includes the spectral illness from the ectoplasm goop of Latophase. However,
Nice.
given how its suit is structurally being almost synthetic in nature, it is extra susceptible to Naganadel's sticky glue, and having its limbs stuck to itself is an easy way to render it unable to do anything. Naganadel, though, its Empoiple are bees, wasps, whole hives of which tend to die to even
Big
the smallest
bugs.
of diseases. quickly spreading between them all due to how they live. Sure, Poipole is poison type, so immune to poisonings and diseases, but a soul-detaching disease that bypasses those poison defenses? Surely a single little prank from a Latophase can take out a whole hive
No
of
type
them.
connection.
All
but
while being simultaneously
gameplay
immune
connection.
to
There you go.
Naganadale's sticky glue because its entire body is sticky ectoplasm goo. But uh-oh, here comes Quarantang, whose intelligence can see through Latophase's ghostly tricks, and whose mobility can easily approach and slap the snot out of it like slapping the head of a
Damn.
gross naughty kid reaching for cookies. All the while, it remains
Mega
clean
slap.
and safe from the sick. So, there you have it. Our two completely different, unrelated ideas for additional starter Ultra Beasts alongside Poipole. I really like how our artists' styles really shine through with these designs, while also showing just how varied
I
Pokemon
love it.
themselves can be. Pokemon, of course, have their more cool, serious, and dare I say, edgy designs, but they also have their fun, silly, cartoony ones. There
Yeah, they're
really
very
is
cute.
something for everyone. And want to support more projects like this? Commissioning artists isn't the cheapest thing, so I super appreciate all of our Patreon supporters and our YouTube channel.
Alright everyone, well that's going to be the end of today's video, and I hope you all enjoyed this. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Link to the original will be in the description below, and I'll see all of y'all next time when we flick back on. Till then, this is Fox, signing out. Peace.